The project log that I've now put onto Classroom is to be filled out for you from each session, filled out by you from each session from now on. It's a log for really just telling us what progress you're making through this. So I just want to know how much work you're producing, what issues and successes you're having. This would be required in the GCSE coursework. It's a logbook, and it gets you 5% of the coursework or the controlled assessment marks. So although you do a program which gets you 30% of the marks, and the rest of the write-up gets you the rest of the marks, the project log will get you 5%. So it's just good practice for this. What I've said here is make a copy of the blank table for subsequent sessions and add to these bullet points in here. So first of all, where are you and what has been done? So I've watched the introductory video, I've read the brief introduction, outlined the inputs and outputs required. I'll also say at this point processes and validation complete. That's fine. That's all I want to know. That's all Mr. Matthews and myself want to know. What have you done and what hasn't been done? So if I look at the document itself as we go through this, these are all hints and tips about what's needed at this point. So at this point, an introduction must have been typed in here, and then you can get rid of all of my notes that I've put here about how to write it. So write it underneath here, and then get rid of all of my notes. So analysis the task. So what I'm going to do, I've read all of this, and I'm just going to say the system requires, or the inputs required, etc, etc, and I'm just going to finish typing that, and I've said I will require, and so on. So that's the my submission of it. So you can either italicize it, change the color of it if you so wish, whatever you do, but then this has to go. Right? That has to go because it's not required by me to assess. Alright, because that was the work that I put. For now, I'm just going to put it in. Put it back in, and so on. But so I've now done the inputs, and therefore on my project log I would make sure in my session amount of work, well, I've done 35 minutes today. Now I'm not marking you on how much work you've done. This can be 3 hours of work if you really want to, or it can be 20 minutes if you've just looked at it and you've got some other stuff to do. But I'm going to say for today I've done 35 mins on this. Progress made since last session. Inputs have been entered, and outputs too. So what outputs? The outputs I've got from my system are things such as, if I go to this, what outputs do I have? I've got data structures, inputs. There's my output, and maybe I've completed this. The winning team is output. Is printed, and also the points given to each team. And if you've looked at my sample code, you'll see what else is also output. There's also an output to a file of the team name and scores and points awarded. So that's outputted as well. So there we are. And then I'd get rid of that session, of that box, if I want to, unless you want to see it there, because you may need to refer to it again later. So I've made sure that the outputs too. Problems encountered this session. Well, I did have a problem with formatting the document. Changes that you made to the original design. Well, I maybe have changed output prompts. Now, not a lot of these isn't required, and in fact there doesn't need to be a problem. If you've sailed through because you're just doing the write-up, then just put in there none, but I'm just going to say format in the document, change output prompts, and what will I do next session? Complete. data structures. Now some of you may be further on than this, but I can see evidence of that with a number of you in your document, so I want to start seeing evidence of that. Below that then there's, I've said session 14th of May. Well, if it's the 13th of May, then change it, and then I would get rid of that from here, for example. And then I would, amount of work done, well, I did 50 minutes this day. And progress made since last session, added data structures, problems encountered, tables in the document. Let's make sure before, etc, etc. And later on then there's a blank one here. So what I'm going to say to you then is, with this one, just highlight. If you Control and C, or in fact if you do I think copy's up the top there, but to paste it back in you're going to have to use, if I use this, in fact Control and V works. I was going to say paste works. I was going to say use Control and V, but whatever you do, there we are, there's some blank ones then at the bottom just for you to carry on working through. So that's how to complete that, and then we'll be able to see your progress made through the project. Okay, thank you very much.